Welcome to Reddit After Hours. This is r/RelationshipAdvice, where OP asks the question, should she stay with her verbally and physically abusive husband? Our first Reddit post comes from Happy Little Eves, titled, "My husband, a 35-year-old male, is getting drinks with a coworker, and I'm terrified." My husband is getting drinks with a coworker, and I'm terrified. My husband is 35, and I'm 34, and we've been together for 9 years, married for 5. He was showing me a video on his phone the other day, and a text came through from a female name that I didn't recognize. I asked who it was, and he said it's a colleague from a company that his company works closely with. He has text previews turned off, so I couldn't actually see what was said, but my suspicions were definitely raised. I know it's wrong, but when he was in the shower that evening, I looked through his phone to see who this girl is and why she's texting him. I found out that they've been getting coffee and lunch during the workday, sometimes to talk about work and sometimes not. Prior to last week, it was maybe once a month communication to plan these, but then she joined a board that he's on last week. So they had a board meeting and then seemed to go out for drinks as a group after that at about 11. I did know that he was out with his colleagues during this time and I wasn't concerned. What is concerning is that he texted her later that night making sure that she got home safe and telling her how much fun he had, but that he had been hoping to have more opportunities to talk with her instead of everyone else. The next morning, he texted her good morning and asked her for drinks one-on-one next week. She agreed, and he said that he couldn't wait. Of course, I looked her up, and she's a very beautiful woman, probably in her mid-20s. I asked again later who she was and what their connection was. He reiterated that she's a colleague and is helping him get connected with exciting opportunities in her organization. I know he's been really focused on networking, and she has a lot of high-up community connections that it looks like she's introduced him to. He also is a friendly guy who likes to be involved through board work and professional groups. I don't want to go scorched earth and accuse him of anything inappropriate since my insecurity has been a major issue we've had to work through in the past, but I'm terrified that he's going to cheat on me. Would this send off alarm bells for you, and how would you respond without accusing him and ruining the marriage? OP, you even said it yourself in your post. He likes to network through group and board meetings. He's not trying to network with this girl in a group. He's trying to get her one-on-one. And just based on this story, if your insecurities have been an issue in the past, I would probably argue that your insecurities were not just insecurities. They were probably right. There's no reason that he should be getting drinks one-on-one with this girl. I've been, married for a while, and I have quite a few female coworkers, and I text a lot of my male coworkers outside of work, but it has never even been a thought to me to text any of my female coworkers outside of work because when you're married and in a committed relationship, I'm not saying that men and women can't be friends, but there's usually just no reason to. And just why would you even want to create that perception? Why would you want to give your partner that doubt anyway, just out of respect for them, right? So, it's never even been a thought to text a female coworker outside of work, let alone get drinks one-on-one with a female coworker. If he hasn't already emotionally started cheating on you with this girl, which, don't get it twisted, emotional cheating is still cheating and is just as bad as physical cheating, then, if he hasn't started that already, he probably is. And he's probably starting to try to physically cheat, but it doesn't seem like he's gotten there yet. Either way, OP, I wouldn't just chalk this up to you being insecure. I would also have serious doubts about this too. And if this is, the third, fourth, fifth time that he's done this, honestly, OP, it might be time to consider cutting ties. But that's up to you. I could be totally overreacting to it. Maybe I've just read too much Reddit posts. Let me know down in the comments what you think. But yeah, I'm very suspicious of this guy. Our next Reddit post comes from Furious Little Sith, titled, "Something Happened with My Husband." Last night, my husband and I went out for the first time in a long time. I got very drunk together. We were having lots of fun and everything was fine until I told him that I wanted to go to the bar and get more shots, and I was talking to a group of guys. He then got super weird and ran away from the bar and went outside waiting for an Uber. That's the easiest way to say what happened, at least. We then went home and got into a huge argument. He called me a whore and said that his two children that look exactly like him are probably not even his. I guess I went to push past him because our kids woke up then from his screaming, and he pushed me, hurtling me towards the couch. He then made me sit on the couch and proceeded to scream in my face. I got up once again, and he pushed me on the floor and got in my face, screaming at me while I was on the floor. He kicked me out of the house. My mother came, and his mother came as well. My mother came to pick me up, and his mother came to help with the children. He said he's embarrassed because his mother knows that we are having issues and thinks that I'm cheating on him. He said that he will get a paternity test for the two kids this morning. He has still not apologized for pushing me or for calling me a whore. I told him that if it will make him more comfortable, he can do the paternity test. But at this point, I am so heartbroken from the way that he was saying that we would get a divorce, that when he does get the paternity test results back saying that the children are absolutely his, I will absolutely serve him with divorce papers because I just can't. I can't believe he's saying our children could be someone else's. What would you do? Would you work it out? OP, you are unequivocally, without a doubt, making the right decision. I cannot believe he said that he's embarrassed that his mother knows that you guys are having issues. Maybe he should be more embarrassed by the fact that he's a POS that puts his hands on his wife. Yelling at you in that manner is unacceptable either way. Even if you take out the putting his hands on you, yelling at you that way is still unacceptable. If you love someone, you should talk it out and work it out, not scream it out and demean them and make them feel like they're the biggest POS in the world like he did to you. Putting his hands on you is completely next level. And if you put his hands on you once, he's going to do it again. And it's going to get worse. You are absolutely making the right decision, OP. Either way, OP, if you ever see this, I hope you and your kids are safe. Our next Reddit post comes from Pineapple Sam07, titled, I, a 24-year-old male, told my wife, a 23-year-old female, that I'm less attracted to her and I don't know what to do. My wife and I dated for around 3 years before getting married a year and a half ago. We got married and we moved in together. Lately, our physical relationship has been less than ideal, mainly because I've had lots of stressors in my life that get in the way of thinking about that, but also because I just really haven't felt the want to. She's always been a little bit on the bigger side, and I've always been okay with that. In fact, I find it fairly attractive to a certain point. Since we moved in together, she's gained around 80 pounds or so, and she hates herself for it. We don't have any kids or anything, it's all just been gradual and diet-based. She constantly thinks about it and wishes she were thinner. I've tried to help her with things like the gym, but eventually I stopped going because I got busy, so she stopped going too. She bought some appetite suppressors, but she doesn't take them. I've tried helping her with the diet, but she said that she doesn't have the discipline to go through with it. I hate seeing her frustrated and crying over how she looks and what she can and can't wear, but I'm out of ideas. Yesterday, she asked me if I'm still physically attracted to her, and I couldn't help but put everything together and realize that I am indeed less attracted to her than I was before. She made it quite clear before that she always wants the truth, even if it's uncomfortable or will cause a problem because it'll be better for our relationship in the long run. And usually I tend to agree. So I told her, and I tried to insist that I still love her and that nothing has changed in my eyes, but it didn't really seem to soften the blow at all. I tried explaining that even though she's changed, I'm still attracted to her and that I'm still in love with her just as before. Once I finished talking, she excused herself, and the rest of the day and today, she's been very stoic and short with me. I regret what I said, and looking back now, I should have just lied, but I don't know what to do now. I appreciate any advice or experiences shared. OP, I don't think what she wanted to hear was that you don't find her attractive anymore. I'm not saying that you should have lied, but if it were me, I probably would have said, yes, baby, I'm still attracted to you. However, I think both of us could stand to be a little bit healthier. I think that kind of like gets your point across without sounding so mean. You can be honest with someone and, tell them the truth and how you really feel without sounding mean. And I think saying directly that I'm less attracted to you is kind of mean. I think that would be a really hard blow for any couple and any person to hear. So, I don't know, OP. Hopefully she stops being mad at you soon and you guys can talk it out. But yeah, definitely not the approach I would have taken, OP. Also, take some time to check on her mentally, OP. A lot of people gain that kind of weight because they're depressed and extremely stressed out with life in general, and maybe might be stress eating or depressed eating, who knows. So take some time to check on her mentally, and who knows, maybe she is in a bad place, and maybe once she kind of gets out of that bad place, maybe you can both start to go to the gym again and both work towards being a little healthier. Our next Reddit post comes from Suspicious Book 2242, titled, "My husband overslept for my grandpa's funeral." My husband, a 31-year-old male, works night shift from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. He also works a lot of overtime due to the crew that he's a foreman over being short-staffed, so I know he's really tired. Unfortunately, my grandfather passed away, and his funeral was today. I woke up my husband before I left with the kids to head to the services. We were driving separate in case he had to leave for work in case the funeral ran over. Anyway, he fell back asleep, and I called him when I got there at 11:30. For context, it's about a 40-minute drive there. He stated that since the services were from noon to 3, that he would plan to be there at 1 p.m. That way he could sleep a little bit longer, and asked me to call him around 12:15. I did call him. He never answered the phone until 1 p.m. I told him that he needed to be getting up because it was already 1, and he told me that he would be there by now. He said he was getting up. Well, 3 p.m. comes around, and we're getting in the cars headed to the burial site, and he still isn't answering the phone. He finally answers after I've tried calling him a few times, and I tell him that he's already missed everything. I didn't get an apology or anything. He just said, "I guess I fell back asleep." Mind you, this was a very unexpected and terrible death of my 60-year-old grandfather. I spent the week before his passing in the hospital with my grandmother while we were waiting on a prognosis of his condition. Basically, he got a bacterial meningitis and was on a ventilator and had 3 strokes from brain swelling. Should I say something to him about being upset that he was not there for me on the day of his funeral? I don't want to cause an argument, but I know he'll be defensive about it. I don't even know how to express that I didn't feel emotionally supported by him without, quote, pointing fingers. OP, first and foremost, if you ever see this, I'm sorry for your loss, and I hope you're doing okay. Secondly, it's perfectly fine to express that you're upset that he didn't emotionally support you. There have been times with me and my wife that I wasn't emotionally as supportive as I could have been, and she let me know. In those cases, really, the only thing you can do is apologize and try to do better moving forward. Not gaslight, not saying that you shouldn't be upset or that your feelings aren't valid. Just apologize, move forward, and try to be more supportive in the future. If your husband can't do that and gets incredibly defensive, you might need to have a different conversation with him. Maybe try therapy. Maybe try some counseling. Maybe just, try to get through to him that, he should have supported you. I get it. He works night shift. I work night shift too, and sometimes it's hard to stay up during the day. But I don't think that's the issue. I think the issue is he hurt you, and he doesn't seem to care that he hurt you. Our next Reddit post comes from Throra89765A, titled, "My husband smashes everything around him when he is angry, and I'm thinking of leaving him." When I, a 35-year-old female, and my husband, a 36-year-old male, argue, I used to raise my voice, which triggers my husband. He always used to smash things around him, often punching walls, throwing phones, and throwing other items like chairs or coffee tables. When he does this, I instantly stop arguing because of his anger. He has never hit me, but he has gently pushed me. He says that if I would not shout, he would not get this angry, but my shouting triggers him. I know I also need to work on that. I can't accept his behavior though, and I'm scared to argue because it always ends up the same. He always calls me out my name, like calling me the B word or telling me to F off. He crosses all those lines when we argue. Other than that, I think he is a caring and loving husband, but he always turns out to be the opposite when we argue. I'm thinking of ending our marriage. We don't have kids, but I am afraid that if we would, he would act this way towards them too. Am I exaggerating? OP, this is classic verbal abuse that eventually will turn into physical abuse. He's already lightly pushed you, and if you're this kind of nonchalant about the shouting, I almost wonder if this was a little bit more than a light push. Either way, OP, I think it's a good thing that you don't have kids with him, because I think he would absolutely treat the kids the same way. This is a huge red flag, and I'm glad he showed this to you before you decided to have kids. Trust your gut, OP. Trust your gut and do what's going to keep you safe and make you happy. You deserve better than this, OP. That was Reddit After Hours, bringing you r/relationship advice. Thank you all so much for listening, and if you like these videos, like and subscribe, and leave a comment down below for future Reddit subs you'd like us to cover in the future.